Welcome to Scrollin', episode 102. I'm Ket. Joining me as always, Davius Starjumper. How's it going, dude?
Happy to be here.
So we are here to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online. So PTS is over. This is a dead week. I think next week is another dead week. And then the patch goes live the Monday after that, June 5th for PC.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, we got 3 weeks of this? This is one.
I think it's not even 2 weeks. I think it's not even 2. We finish this week. We get through next week, and then it's that Monday right there.
Yep, that Monday. Think like the start of a marathon race, but they're just all the racers are Arcanists, just being released into the servers.
I mean, we just gotta assume it's going to be a catastrophe. I mean, just I would say just accept that that's going to be the case.
It's part of the enjoyment at this part. It's
the
part
wacky just nonsense. Yeah, I want it to be. I can't wait. And we were just mentioning on the last episode that it's been a pretty chill meta, really. Like it's just kind of things are actually pretty in a good spot. So I think it's just everything is just super ripe for disruption.
Oh yeah,
we're ready for it.
Ready for chaos.
You know how this game is. It never stays tranquil for long. You know, it's like the calm before the storm. It's always going to be shaken up one way or another.
They know what they're doing.
So anyway, the last week of PTS was last week. That was, I guess, week 5, 8.0.4. For Necrom is the name of the chapter coming up. And mostly all that happened in that week was a bunch of Arcanist adjustments. And we're not going to talk about all of that. We are going to do an Arcanist deep dive, I think, on the next episode once the patch goes live. So look forward to that. Aside from that, the only thing of note in those patch notes is that they did finally mention these stealth detect potions. It's not 100 meters anymore. Well, currently on the live server, it's a 20 meter detect radius. They stealthily increased that to 100 meters, and there was no mention of it in the patch notes, and everyone's going nuts about it on the forums. Well, they finally put it in the patch notes, and it's 43.5 meters now. So basically double the current range.
Took it down from a city mile to just a football field, That's a big deal.
Yeah. 43.5 is still a longer range than I think any ability in the game, right? So like snipers, you'll be able to detect them with this, no problem.
That is a long, long ways. We were talking about a little bit on the range. It's almost like I would say if you're roaming around in Cyrodiil, that's the part that stood out the most to me. Is if you're roaming around in Cyrodiil, have these potions. If you're tired of gankers grabbing you random slots of Cyrodiil, this is the new way to avoid that. You'll be
just
able to
have them slotted on the quick wheel. Yeah, it's so much. There's so much value in just having them. They don't have to be your main potion that you use all the time. But if there's just some Nightblade grief in you, like, all right, dude, let me get these stealth detect potions. There's no escape now. Yeah, one of the BG maps, like Uncle Sam says, like that lava map, it's only like a 50 meter radius anyway, So you just stand in the middle and reveal the whole map.
That little tiny arena one's smaller than that one.
That's true, yeah. That little Coliseum one, if it's a deathmatch. That's the one it's either too small or too big, depending on the game mode.
Depending on what character you're on. Oh, no, you're talking about if it's flags, then it's a... Yeah, it gets weird.
Yeah, because if it's Chaos Ball and Deathmatch, it's the small one, and if it's anything else, it's the big one, and it's way too big.
Yeah, it's way too big.
I think it's the only one you can mount in.
Back in the day, the Deathmatchers used to be the full size of that thing.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I'm really glad that they changed that. That's a fun Deathmatch map, actually.
It is.
You're just like, it's a forced dog pile, no way around it.
It's a massacre.
So that's pretty much all for PTS. Those stealth detect potions are basically doubled the current radius. So I want to talk about this thing. We had this conversation in Discord maybe like a week ago. Shout out to Garion and Saber. They kind of set me straight on my thinking about how penetration works versus resistance, and how to kind of think about how much damage you're actually gaining against a target when you have penetration. So we're going to kind of talk our way through this just a little bit. And it's a similar, if you remember a while back when Battle Spirit was adjusted from 50% damage mitigation to 55% damage mitigation. So it's like we gained 5% damage mitigation. But in reality, we gained 10% damage mitigation because we were already dealing the 50% reduced amount of damage. And so 5 is 10% of 50, right? So you kind of have to think of it in those terms. It's a similar kind of lesson learned here. Penetration is a similar sort of thing. It's all relative to how much damage you were doing before you had the penetration.
Gotta get our thinking caps on here for this part.
Yeah,
everybody put them on.
It's going to hurt because we're going to have to do some math. So, but basically, what penetration is it's just it's anti-resistance, right? So, however much penetration you have, you are subtracting that number from your opponent's armor value, right? 660 resistance equals 1% damage mitigation. So it's easy to think that 660 penetration equals 1% damage gained, but it's not quite that cut and dry. So we're going to talk our way through this hypothetical scenario here to illustrate the thing. Just to make the math easy, we're not going to factor in battle spirit, but that doesn't actually affect the outcome. So we're just going to simplify it. So let's say we have an ability that has a 10,000 damage tooltip, and we're going to hit a target that has 0 armor. So no mitigation at all. So we're going to hit them for 100% of that damage. It's going to hit for 10,000. If that target gains 660 armor, then it's going to hit for 1% less. So that'd be 9,900. If that target gains 19,800 armor, divided by 660 is 30. So that's 30% damage mitigation. So now our 10,000 tooltip ability is going to hit for 30% less, which is 7,000, right?
Yep.
So remember 7,000, right? So now suppose we gain 3,300 penetration. Divided by 660, that is 5%. We're reducing their damage mitigation by 5% from 30 down to 25. So now our 10K tooltip hits them for 7,500 instead of 7,000. So we gained 500 damage. 500 is exactly 5% of 10,000. So the math matches, it adds up there. But we were never dealing 10,000 damage, right? We were dealing 7,000 damage. And so that 500 damage that we gained, that is 7% of 7,000. We gained 7% damage against this target with that 3,300 penetration. So we'll do one more scenario. Let's say we're going up against a much tankier target. They have 33,000 resistance, which is the effective cap. So that's 50% damage mitigation. So our 10K tooltip will hit them for half as much, 5K. If we gain that same 3,300 penetration, we're reducing their mitigation by 5%, so it's 45% now. So now our 10,000 ability hits for 5,500. So again, we gained 500 damage, and that is 10% of the 5,000 damage we were dealing before. So in this case, against a tankier target, we're gaining a much bigger percentage damage, right? 10% more damage than before.
Yeah. For the same amount of penetration.
For the same amount of penetration in both scenarios.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, you've probably heard people say, like, penetration is more effective against tankier targets and less effective against less tanky targets. That's kind of the math that shows you why, right? It just ends up being a bigger percentage of your damage when they have more armor.
Well, I even think it goes to show, on really high MMR battlegrounds, you hear a lot of talk about penetration. And it's about, just kind of like what you said, getting that the numbers show 5%, but it's actually 7%. The numbers show 5%, but it's actually 10%. And so just kind of
all in relative terms.
Yeah, squeaking out those extra percentages anywhere you can find them. That's important.
It's the most effective type of damage against tanky targets, and those are the ones that are hard to kill. The people who aren't tanky, they're easy to kill. So it doesn't matter what kind of damage you have. They're going to fall over anyway. So Mid-Year Mayhem has been going on. Did it end today? Was this morning the end of it?
Today the end of Phase 1 Mid-Year Mayhem. Turn around. We're about to get it right back.
Yeah. What, like another? Does it line up with the new patch, the new Mid-Year Mayhem?
That would be really cool if it did.
Seems like it's going to be right around that time.
That's going to be fun.
I think like some previous Mid-Year Mayhem, White Streaks Mayhem, got canceled, right? And so now we're making up for it by having a back-to-back event.
That's exactly right.
So anyway, it just ended, but it's been going on for the last week and a half or so. It's been a lot of fun. I've been hopping into a bunch of BGs. Probably the best part is the BG queues have been super duper fast, even for group queues.
Yes.
I've enjoyed just seeing the spectrum of players that you see during these events. There's just, Battlegrounds and Imperial City and everywhere is just a lot more populated. And you come across a lot wider range of players. You see people that are just like absolute gods, unstoppable. Mm-hmm. You see people who are the opposite of that, and you see everything in between, right? Just there's a full wide range. You'll come up against people that are kind of your equal match or slightly better or slightly worse or whatever. So it makes the Battlegrounds experience, especially to me, like a lot of fun, because every match there's just a lot of variety. You can identify, like, all right, that dude has my number. I'm going to avoid him, but I can kill this dude, and just you can just kind of bob and weave and pick your fights and stuff like that. And that's really fun. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We put together an Imperial City, we'll call it a ball group, a very small ball group. Shout out to Jorel. He's the one that sort of spearheaded this thing and put a fire in our pants. Is that the saying?
It is now.
But we actually put together a somewhat like organized, optimized squad. So we had King Nar doing a sorcerer with Rush of Agony and Plague. We had Sam on a Dragon Knight using Baylorg and Leap. Jorel was on a Negate bot, support sorcerer. Davis, you were on your main Templar healer, just buffing us, giving us a lot of damage. Morty was on a Frost Warden, and I was on my Magic and Necromancer Despair with a Bomber build. I'll talk about it a little bit later. Jorel talked me into making a Bomber build, and it's way more fun than I was expecting.
Than what you ever planned.
I seriously, I'm still playing with it even in BGs. It's really fun. But a great squad, man. We were blowing up groups of like 20, 30 people. We would come up on like a massive Zerg and like, oh my God, we're dead meat. We're total dead meat. And shout out to King Nar. He'd be like, nope, follow me guys this way. And he'd like lead us down a path and like, we just wait for the right moment. And like, okay, now everybody drop your ults. And we're just standing on a freaking mountain of corpses.
27 of the 30 just go down. And you're like, okay, this is now a little bit more manageable.
Yeah. King Nar has those leadership skills. It was actually really funny one time because we were kind of kiting a big group out for a really long time. And I eventually got kind of bored of that. And I was like, all right, guys, let's just stop and turn and fight. I bet we can take them. And King Nar was like, all right, let's do it, I guess. And should have listened to King Nar. It was not a good idea.
There would be times that we would probably, on that group, we'd probably take out 10, 12 people, and it just seemed like nothing after a while. It's like, oh, that's not enough. That was only 25% of that group. That was a small one. And you're like looking, and you're like, man, that's a lot of people that just died.
You wipe 10 people, and that's disappointing. That's funny. The thing that took me by surprise in Imperial City was how much of a problem heavy attackers were. The lightning staff heavy attackers.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was a situation, because you would get near like an enemy spawn where you have like, I don't know, 10 sorcerers standing up there, and they're just lightning staff heavy attacking a boss or just a random mob. And, Empower does not apply to players, but it does apply to those mobs. And then the Destro Staff passive makes you take 100% of that damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically you are getting the Empower 80% damage increase at that point. So we would dive into a group like trying to wipe them out, and we would all just instantly vaporize. We're like, what the heck?
Just melted.
And it's because there's 10 of these heavy attacks happening simultaneously. You just dive into a
trial group with their perfected heavy attacks.
Exactly. They're just doing 100k DPS per person right there. We probably did that 3 or 4 times until we're like, okay, let's avoid that area. That is instant death every time.
Stay away from those
crazy
guys. Oh man, that was good.
Oh yeah, and I made a note here to just give King Nar a shout out for the great leadership skills, dude. I can always put my faith in King Nar. If we're doing a trial or if we're squadding up in Imperial City or whatever, if someone's like, who wants to be crowned, I just nominate King Nar every time.
King's the one. King's the one.
Yeah. That's just the go-to.
Throw the crown at King. It just works. It just makes sense.
Did you step foot in Cyrodiil at all during the event?
I did not. at all. Which, I was thinking about that because I kind of wish I would have, because only for the reason, I mean, I told you, I've been in Cyrodiil a lot lately just for transmutes, and it's not been great. But that Mid-Year Mayhem lets you get that tier 1 much quicker, much easier. We should have taken advantage of it. We would have gotten some transmutes, but no, I didn't hop in there at all.
Despite that really strong incentive, I just wanted to do BGs. That's all
BGs and Imperial City was a lot more fun. That's what won over.
I hardly even did the scroll even. I have like 40 million AP, so I'm just happy to get a lot of more. There's just shorter queue times, and there's a lot more people in BGs. I'm just enjoying that.
Just enjoying the event. When you get kills, you get reward boxes. I mean, how awesome was that? Just reward boxes on reward boxes. Same thing.
Boxes.
I think I actually used the scroll one time that I remember. One time actually doing it. I was like, oh yeah, hey. And then never again. Just enjoyed
I've done it a few times. When I think about it, I do it. It just doesn't dawn on me. I'm just like, sweet, fast queues.
This is great.
Yeah. So going into this next patch, I thought we would kind of do a quick sort of rapid fire. We'll list off all the builds that we have that we're feeling good about. They're locked in. They're ready to go for next patch. Probably nothing's going to need to change about them. We're just ready to hit the ground running with these guys. We actually have a really good list. We have a good number of builds that we are like, yeah, solid build, feel great about it. It's been nice that the meta has sort of stayed stable for a couple of patches now, where you can put some builds together and keep them that way, and they stay viable. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it has worked out really well. And like you said, it's nice kind of, I don't know, there's just a good feeling when you get a build. You're like, all right, that one's done, that one's set. Now it's on the shelf. Whenever I want to grab it for that specific build, I can, but it's done.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. No more grinding.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's nice that a patch drops and it's not like that build is ruined now, or that there's like so much a better option that I have to do something different now or whatever. So yeah, we're not going to do any deep dives here. We're just going to kind of quickly say like what the builds are, just any kind of important details, and then move on to the next one. We actually have probably like 10, 11, 12 builds here.
Yeah, we got a lot.
So I will start us off with my main, which is Old Betsy, my Stamina Templar. She is what we refer to as a battlefield commander, just kind of a well-rounded build that you can put on any team that utilizes any play style, and she's going to add value. So her build is Deadly Strikes as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a bow, the perfected Black Rose dual wield maces on the front bar.
Perfected, keyword.
Perfected. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and One Piece Magma Incarnate. She uses the Serpent Mundus, Bloodthirsty Jewelry. She's an orc. Sugar Skulls for the food, Tri-Step Potions. And she's all about the AoE pulses. She has Solar Barrage, Deadly Cloak, Blood Mist, the Crescent Sweep Ultimate. Those all put these AoE pulses around her. Deadly Strikes applies to all of those. Plus, you spam jabs on top of that, and you're just kind of this walking ball of AoE death. It's all undodgeable, unavoidable damage. It actually hits really hard with the 3 Bloodthirsty Jewelry. It's kind of a squishy finder. You can dive into the middle of a group and just kind of go ham, throw a lot of damage in there, and your allies will just naturally see which health bars are getting the lowest and start focusing that target. It's also very, very survivable, really easy to stay alive. She uses Extended Ritual, Honor the Dead, Resolving Vigor, the Barrier Ultimate. You could replace the ritual with the bubble, the Living Dark bubble if you wanted to. It's a matter of preference, but I really like having that cleanse.
Yeah. Well, plus you got Mist Form, so that helps too.
That helps too. Yeah. Yeah. So just all around very survivable, a lot of damage, really fun build. It's very speedy. And it's Old Betsy, nothing beats her.
Good old Betsy.
All right, Davius, your turn. What build do you have?
Well, I got to start off with my main, old Lord of Nords himself, Stam DK. He's become the epitome of just my brawler support, and kind of what I mean by that is he's tanky, he's in the way, takes a lot of damage. He kind of throws out pressure well, and he just he's just a good team player. He kind of supports the team by being there and soaking up damage and keeping other teams busy, and kind of letting your teammates kind of be in the back and kind of focus. But the build is a 5-piece Coral Riptide, 2-piece Blood Spawn. I got 1 agility on there, 1 trainee heavy chest, and then Oaken Soul ring. And then I do the chest is the reinforced, and then I do 6 well fitted. And then this is a pretty similar setup for me on, I do Oaken Soul on all my builds, but I usually do 1 infused ring with recovery to kind of get my sustain. And then I actually do 2 bloodthirsty with damage on the other 2 jewelry. Kind of works out when the numbers work out that well, but kind of once again, he's just a really tanky brawler, really good ult gen, so he's leaping all the time. Kind of keeps his sustain going, keeps the tankiness going. He's very AoE focused, so he can kind of spread the pressure. He's not really going to focus kills or anything like that, but he kind of spreads out the damage, soaks up the damage for the team, throws enough damage out that keeps pressure, and so kind of lets, if there's any execute or focused kill builds on the team, they can kind of secure those kills. But I really like this build. It's kind of just my all-around good team build. It kind of fits in on any team pretty well.
Very fitting that our first 2 are Old Betsy and Lord of Nords. I mean, that's the classic pair right there. All right, my next build that I have to talk about is Intergalactic. He is my roly-poly Magsork, using that Stormweaver's Cavort Mythic Pants. So it's an iteration of the famous Uncle Sam Sork, Execute Sork. So it uses Kvatch Gladiator as a front bar set with a flame staff, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a bow, Stormweaver's Cavort Mythic Pants, and 3 willpower. Apprentice Mundus Bloodthirsty Jewelry. It's a Breton, and it has evolved to the point where it's very much a hybrid build. It's a mix of Stam Sork and Mag Sork, both defensively and offensively. And it's super duper fun. So it's all about utilizing that Stormweaver for the defensive style. It kind of feels a lot like playing a Stam Sork. You can be very roly-poly, dodgy. It's all well fitted. So it's a lot of using movement and positioning to keep yourself alive and to stay ahead of enemies.
Such a cool idea. It's exactly what this mythic was designed for. Such a cool.
This is like what you're supposed to use it for.
Yes, exactly.
Like I said last time, no one believes me. I can't talk anyone into actually spending the time to farm this thing out, because I get it. It takes a while, but it's fun. It's a really fun one. Vigor and Hardened Ward are the main kind of survivability abilities that I use. And then Hunting Curse, Mage's Wrath, and Crystal Weapon and Overload are the main offensive abilities. And it's you alternate with Crystal Weapon. So it's Curse, Crystal Weapon, Mage's Wrath, Crystal Weapon. Curse, Crystal Weapon, Mage's Wrath, Crystal Weapon. And you just keep alternating that constantly while light attack weaving throughout. You can have Overload on or off as you please. And so, yeah, that is the roly-poly Magsork. Nice. Davis, what do you have next?
I'm going to go with my Stamina Warden, Old Bear Claw the Nord. I suppose I could be listing my races, for any new listeners, but let's just go ahead. All mine are going to be Nord, in case anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Nords across the board. There we go.
Well, there's episode title possibility right there.
Nords across the board.
Nords across the board.
There we go.
I love that.
So Bear Claw the Nord, my Stamina Warden. This is probably like, if you were to combine effectiveness with just sheer fun of the build, like this one is definitely near the top. That's why I'm talking about him kind of early on here. But the build is a 5-piece Swamp Raider, 2-piece Baylorg, the Vatishram Bow, which is that point blank snipe, which is this whole build's built around. 2-piece Trainee, Oaken Soul. I do 7 well fitted, and once again I do that 1 infused with a recovery glyph, 2 bloodthirsty with a damage glyph. And this is the Bow Brawler. Very rare class out there in the world. It's the Bow Brawlers, but
I've only ever seen one.
Get up in their face, do that point blank snipe, be in the fray, be in that melee range. But this build is so much fun. Just the uniqueness of it causes a lot of fun, and it really is. It's very high burst damage. It does secure kills, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like an execute build. But it works really, really well in tandem with an execute build because it really takes kind of chunk damage from players and gets them into that execute range. And so I've really seen good effects if I'm on a team where, there's a Sam Sork or even a Beam Plar. It kind of does real high burst damage, and then it kind of gets them in the range to finish kills. But this build's a lot of fun. It's got really good tankiness and defense capabilities with that Warden toolkit. And we've talked before, Warden works really well with the Oaken Soul, so it's kind of has everything he needs. And
Warden with a bow, yeah, you have all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that Warden toolkit really lets him kind of be that actual bow brawler. He can be up in the fray and still be survivable. So it works really well. A lot of fun.
I love after all these years, you've maintained this bow brawler thing of his, and man, this is my favorite build of yours. It's actually like a legitimately really good build. Man, this thing slaps. You cannot kill this guy. The damage is seriously off the charts.
It's so good.
And I love, it really is a very well-rounded, very complete build. You have all the stuff you need right there on one bar. It's great.
Yeah, and even can do, team support, can do heals. So it really kind of does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, really nice. Little bear claw. Next build I have is my hybrid Magblade Catface Johnson, my original character.
The OG.
This is a build that I don't talk about nearly enough. It's actually, I think, one of my better builds. I kind of think of it, feels a similar niche as Old Betsy, where it just kind of has a really good mix of offense and defense and support, and you can throw him on any team, and he has some value to offer no matter what that team's up to, like what their composition is or whatever. So his build is War Maiden on the front bar with a flame staff, Wretched on the back bar with a bow. That's becoming a trend with me. Bow on the back bar, staff on the front bar. I'm really liking that setup. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and 3 Wrath of the Imperium on the jewelry. The Steed Mundus for the movement speed, Bloodthirsty jewelry. He's a Khajiit. And basically he has the classic Magblade offense on the front bar. Merciless Resolve, Swallow Soul for the spammable, Impale for the execute, and the Soul Tether ultimate. Or end cap. I go back and forth. So that's all long range. They don't really have a great ranged ultimate. I really don't like Meteor, so if I want to use my ultimate, I just run in close and use it.
Sure.
Basically how you have to do it. Defensively, it's kind of silly that Nightblades have such a great defensive kit. I don't feel like they should have such a good defensive kit, but they do. So I'm taking advantage of it.
There.
So I am using Cloak. I do turn invisible when I need to. Phantasmal Escape, that bubble that gives you major evasion and the free roll dodge thingy. Resolving Vigor, Shrewd Offering, an amazing burst heal, and the Barrier ultimate. So a really pretty darn decent support kit as a backup healer. You wouldn't want to be a main healer, but if the healer is indisposed and you have to just spam heals at someone, that Shrewd Offering, we've talked about it before. It's so incredibly cheap, man. You can spam that thing all day. And Nightblades have incredible sustain anyway. Like if someone's low on health, you really can just hammer that thing like 15 times in a row, and just keep them from dying.
I'm deciding awesome. They're not going to die.
Yeah. That's why, like, if you I'm not using this right now on this build, but I have in the past. Rapid regen, the Resto Staff ability, the shorter duration one. That and Shrewd Offering, just those 2 abilities is a pretty darn effective healing kit. You hit them with the rapid regen, then spam Shrewd Offering 100 times, and they're not going to die. That's Catface Johnson.
Always rooting for Catface. He's the OG. That's the guy. Yeah. That's the guy when I started this game, when you got me into this game. That was the guy that I leveled with. He ran around and did the hard quest for me. He took down the hard bosses back in the day for me.
Beat the game without ever having gotten a mount.
That's probably, we talk about that, but it really is one of those core memories of me with ESOs. Because I think I was like a level 12. And I was like, oh, hey, I unlocked a mount. And you were like, yeah, I guess that's a thing. And I was like, no, I got a free one. Like, it gives me one. And you're like, oh, I wonder if I have one. And there we go. And you're like, wow, this is game changer. Game changer to have a mount.
This really changes this game after I've already beaten it.
After I've already beaten the entire game. So good.
It was worth it though. Hey, it was a much bigger game to me though, man. I was
It really was.
exploring on foot every inch of this freaking map.
You know what? It's part of Catface's story. That guy's got calves the size of dump trucks. All right, like that guy doesn't need amounts. All right.
I don't think that's the body part that dump trucks are normally associated
Well,
with.
but on Catface, you better believe it.
All right, who's your next build, man?
So the next one I'm going to talk about is Need for Me. This has kind of been the one I've been really excited with right now. If you see me in a BG here lately, I've been in with my Stamplar, the Need for Mead, which I think is got to be like the top 2 or 3 in your favorite names of characters of mine.
Oh, certainly. He's a great look. He's a good looking character too.
Yep,
I've got to
yep.
say.
Yeah. Put a lot of work into his look, which is the most important part. We all know.
Very loud, very present.
Really fits the Nord theme for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this build is one that I've been really excited about, worked on. I every time I hop onto it, I'm kind of reminded how much I like it. Really, all it is it's kind of my take on your Betsy build, but just once again throwing the Oakensaw in there, kind of a 1-bar version. But what the build is it's 5-piece Deadly Strikes, 5-piece Dagon's Dominion, 1-piece Magma with the Oakensoul. I do 7 well-fitted with 3 Swift Jewelry. So that's a little unique. I usually don't use the Swift Jewelry that often, but still with the 1 Recovery Glyph and 2 Damage Glyph. And I've kind of made here some recent changes, but just like you said with Betsy, this is just AoE pressure. And you know, with Oakensoul, and another thing we've kind of talked about, with Oakensoul, you're taking an entire bar off, so you really kind of have to singular focus. Like, what's your purpose? And go all in on that, and understand you're going to have weaknesses, but just kind of zero in on the focus. And that's really what I've done with this build. AoE pressure, AoE. The most recent change I've made is that I've actually switched to the damage version of the extended ritual. You still get the cleanse, and your allies can actually still use the synergy to heal themselves and cleanse. So I like the team synergy with it. But basically, it switches from an AoE hot to a actual AoE damage, and it's got an insane range. And so I can just throw that down, and it's an ability that once the dot is on them, it ramps up the longer they're in there. And so I'll just run into a group, throw down that. I do the jabs, the solar barrage. And so it's just all of this AoE pressure that I'm just kind of throwing into an entire group. Crescent Sweep, another AoE. Both Deadly Strikes and Dagon's Dominion are buffing all of those abilities that I just said. The Swift Jewelry, so it's very speedy. It's got good survivability. I can kind of run in, throw all the AoE mess down on the ground, still be defensive, get out of there if things go bad. But I really like that I've kind of switched to this. I'm not trying to kind of secure kills with this build. It's more of just throw all the damage out there, and just like you said, kind of figure out which one of the builds is kind of squishy, and then you can kind of turn your focus to which one's kind of getting melted the most. And it's, with any Templar, it's got good team synergy. I can throw heals out. I've got Honor of the Dead on there, so I can throw out heals to teammates that need them. And I really like that. I've been really excited with that other morph of the extended ritual. Just because it still gives me the cleanse. I can still remove the effects, plus the teammate synergy with it. And it's actually been surprisingly a lot of damage. I think when I run in there and throw it down on the ground, when players are in the middle of the fight, they don't really, it's such a massive area that it's
yeah, you have to completely relocate if you want to avoid it.
It's so inconvenient to get out of the range of it that they just stay in it. And it's
they
one of
probably
those,
assume it's not doing a ton of damage anyway, so whatever.
Exactly. And it's one of those abilities that every single tick on you, I think it ramps, I want to say it's like 12%. It ramps up in damage every tick.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's quite a bit.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
So it just keeps climbing and climbing. And so I've really...
Especially for an Oakensoul build, you're always looking for ways to add as much value as possible into a bar slot, so you have your cleanse and damage. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's worked out really, really well. And so I've actually been really excited with the results I've gotten on that build.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great idea. I forgot that they added that ramping thing a while back because I don't think that was always that way.
No, I don't think it was, and it makes a difference. I mean, in with something, and once again, I'm repeating myself, but with something that size of that extended ritual is just massive, and so people just
Hmm.
they're not going to they're not going to run out of that when they're in the middle of a fight,
Yeah,
and so you just see it's those ramping ticks start happening, and it starts hitting pretty hard.
and even if they do run, just throw it down
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
I mean,
I'll just throw down another one. It's
yeah,
very easy to hit people with that. It's such a huge range.
nice, man. I might experiment with that. That's a good idea. May remorph mine. I really like having that other one though. It's a lot of healing.
It is a
And
strong haunt, but yeah, I really like that. That's how abilities should be. Both morphs, very very good morphs.
yeah, nice. Is that all you have for that one?
That's it.
All right. Next one I have is Despair, my Argonian magic and necromancer, and right now I have this set up as a ranged bomber. Shout out to Jorl. He gave me the idea for this and made a couple of suggestions that really made it come together. Um, yes, it does use Dark Convergence. It's I've tried a bunch of
Oh
different
boy.
setups, and listen, if you're doing a bomber on a necro, it's not possible without Dark Convergence.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
Yeah.
say.
Absolutely.
Honestly, Dark Convergence doesn't bother me nearly as much as it used to either. It has a kind of an okay long cooldown. You really have to wait for it and plan around it, and it's not
Mhm.
everywhere. So when I do see it, it doesn't trigger me or whatever.
Dark Convergence has moved away from the Rush of Agony circle. It's moved into
Yeah.
the more accepted range.
It doesn't break any CC rules or anything like that, so it's acceptable. It's a pain to deal with when someone is abusing it the way I have been, but whatever. So, like I said, these are all going to be rapid fire, so I'm not going to do a big deep dive on this build. But if you would like to hear a deep dive on this particular build, you should go to patreon.com/scrollandpodcast and listen to the most recent Booncast. I talk about this build pretty in depth over there, but I'll give you the important details here. So it is Dark Convergence as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a Resto staff, the non-perfected Black Rose Prison Lightning Staff on the front bar.
Non-perfected.
Non-perfected. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and One Piece Vulcan Scoria. It's all divines, bloodthirsty on the jewelry. It's an Argonian, sugar skulls for the food, spell power potions. If I'm in a coordinated group, I will get rid of the Sithis and the One Piece Vulcan, and I'll do Baylorg, 2 pieces Baylorg monster set for those ultra juicy bombs with the ultimate. But when I'm not with the group, I feel like that makes me too squishy, and I don't like the fact that Baylorg does nothing when I don't have my ultimate, because I still want to be effective when I'm when in between ultimates. So I also have this like sort of mini bomb that I can set off about every 4 seconds. Of course, Dark Convergence is only involved every 25 seconds, but you can still try in between.
Yeah.
So the offensive abilities are Blast Bones, the Skeletal Arcanist, the Volcanic Rune from the Mages Guild, the Elemental Ring from the Destro Staff, and the Colossus Ultimate. So those are all full long range AoE direct damage burst attacks. So they're all in PvP. It's a 36 meter range on all of those. So you can be far away from the danger and just drop these bombs on people, from far away. The Volcanic Rune, that's the Mages Guild ability. You throw this thing down on the ground and it has a 2-second delay. What's nice about that is it's a second delayed burst ability. So you have your Blast Bone that takes about 3 seconds. This thing takes 2 seconds. So you can line those two things up with other stuff really easily. And it hits pretty hard. It's like a 10k tooltip for me, and it stuns people when it hits as well. The Shock Ring, that's the AoE burst attack from the Destro Staff. It's the morph that you can cast on the ground rather than around your character, and you can cast it really far away. The Black Rose Destro Staff, the Lightning Staff, reduces the cost, and it makes it apply a really strong dot. So a lot of times I'll just get accidental kills from random dot ticks because that thing hits really hard. So the way the combo goes, if I do not have the ultimate, I basically just make sure that the Skeletal Arcanist is active. I summon a Blast Bones. I throw the Volcanic Rune on the ground, which will proc Dark Convergence and pull everybody in. And then I spam 2 Elemental Rings on top of that. basically on that second elemental ring, everything's going to line up. Then that volcanic rune's going to blow up. Your blast bones is going to hit, and that elemental ring, and then your Arcanist, of course, is doing his AOE thing every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you add up all those tooltips, it's about 30k worth of damage, which is, you can do that every 4 seconds. That's a pretty nice little mini bomb. And it's kind of like I was saying about Betsy. It's a pretty good squishy finder. You can just kind of be throwing this thing into the groups over and over and over, and your teammates will figure out where the good target is. They'll just naturally start zeroing in on it. If I do have the ultimate, I just replace the volcanic rune with the ultimate. So I summon a blast bones, drop the ult, spam the shock ring. That's all it is.
And it's very necro, I feel like. Like, that's one of the best things about it. Like, this is a true necromancer. There's a lot of necromancer abilities. Feels necromancer.
Oh yeah, I'm using all the minions. I'm using the healing minion, the damage minion, the blast bones, the ultimate. Yeah, and it's all this like AoE bombing thing, which is a uniquely necro thing. Yeah, and so like healing abilities, I'm using Vigor, the Spirit Guardian, Resistant Flesh, the Resto Ultimate. Necrotic Potency, that's the one that you drain bodies, and you get a crap ton of ultimate for that.
Oh yeah.
It also gives you a really strong heal over time. That's a really great ability. And for a build that's kind of focused on these ult bombs, this thing gives you a ton of ultimate. And it's nice that it also gives you that heal over time. So it's really doing something for you in between those ults, and you're dropping corpses left and right. We're using all 3 minions, and our armor buff drops a corpse as well. So even if nobody's dying, we're surrounded by corpses all the time.
Yep.
I think this is probably about the best thing you can do with a necromancer as far as like a battlegrounds team comp. Like, what value are you bringing? A ranged AoE bomber with some off heals is probably the most value you can bring as a necromancer, I would say. So that's why I'm kind of sticking with this. This is going to be Despair's sort of direction going forward, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Name still fits perfectly.
Yeah, totally. So that's Despair. Davis, what do you have next?
Well, on the opposite side of bodies everywhere, my Templar, my original, this is my OG character, Davius Starjumper. He is full support. He actually doesn't do any damage. And this is really just my main support healer for BGs. He's had this set up for a while, but it's still great. As you said, this is the one that I took into the event, into Imperial City. Doing great. The build is 5-piece Spell Power Cure, 5-piece Powerful Assault, 1-piece Magma Incarnate for some sustain, Oaken Soul. I do 7 Divines, 3 Infused Jewelry with 1 Recovery and 2 Damage Glyphs. And he really does. He just operates as he's a main team, heals. He does 0 damage. I even have the Sigic Order Light Attack ability where his light attacks throw heals. You've got the full Templar toolkit, Honor the Dead, Extended Ritual. For the Powerful Assault, I do the Echo. It's not Echoing Vigor.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah.
Vigor.
Yeah, it is Echoing Vigor. And that's the one that throws it out to a strong hot to my team. So I'm just rotating through those. He's got good sustain. With that Oaken Soul and being a Nord, I have very good ult gen, and so I use that Templar healing ult, which is just crazy. And now that you can move with it, it is a very, very strong heal ult. I think my tooltip on it's like 14,000 heals per second for 8 seconds for everybody. So it's
pretty cheap too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it like
it's like 100.
It's pretty cheap.
It's like 120 ult, and so I get it pretty often.
It's like Dawnbreaker.
Yeah. And then the last sweet spot on this build is and you're the one that talked me into this. It's worked out perfectly. I actually made him a vampire. So I do the phase 3. I don't know if that
stage 3.
Stage 3. Thank you. Couldn't think of the word stage there, but yeah. So stage 3 for the tankiness, and then I have Misform on there as that kind of a last ability.
I saw you crutch under that Misform.
Oh man, with Misform on here and with these strong heals and he's got this tankiness because, and then just going back to the main purpose, with that Spell Power Cure, the Powerful Assault, he's given everybody on the team 737 weapon and spell damage before buffs. I'm giving that to myself as well, so it buffs my heals, and so really fun build. Just strong heals, full team buffs, making everybody hit harder. It's a really fun build that works really well.
I like pairing that dude up with like my Sork because my Sork is fully selfish. The only thing it does is
Mm-hmm.
kill things. So, and the only thing that build does is heal things. So they're a perfect match.
Perfect duo. Perfect duo.
Nice. My next build is also a pure healer. Aunt Lola, my warden. She is my 1 bar healer. And I actually really like this build. I've put this up against some really sweaty teams, and she gets the job done. The heals are there, I think. Pretty standard build. It's Mara's Balm, Rallying Cry, Oaken Soul, One Piece Magma, using the Atronach Mundus, Swift Jewelry. You could use Protective. I like Swift. She's a Breton. The bar is Budding Seeds, Healing Springs, Polar Wind. My gosh, Polar Wind is so good.
So good.
Shimmering Shield, the Deceptive Predator, the Run Fast Wings, and the Healing Thicket Ultimate. Just I feel like a perfect healing bar, man. Between Budding Seeds, Healing Springs, and Polar Wind, you have these like 3 AoEs that if anybody is in that vicinity, dude, they're just not dying. They're just not gonna die. Shimmering Shield, when someone hits that, you get major heroism. You already have minor heroism from Oaken Soul, and those trees only cost 90 ultimate, so they're ready anytime. Anytime you need them, they're ready to go. The Deceptive Predator gives you that speed, the snare removal, also minor evasion. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this build. It's super simple, very straightforward. Like your only job is to heal and not die, nothing else. And you just stay on this 1 bar. You never have to recast any buffs or anything. Just watch those health bars and keep them full.
And it's just such strong heals. Like so many strong heals.
Yeah.
I love pairing with
I really
Lola.
like it.
Great partner to pair with.
Yeah, and it's fun. You already know this because of your build that you just talked about, but it's fun to have like no other option than to heal. It's the only thing I have. So like if I don't know if I'm getting attacked or focused or whatever, it's like, well, I'll just out heal it, I guess. That's the only only thing you can do.
Yep.
It's kind of fun in its own way.
Yeah. And I really like what it does for a team too, because there's so many times that you'll be, you'll have a healer, but they're, they have damage and they may be focusing on a fight. And so other teammates, may need that heal, but they're caught up in a fight. And so it's, I really like the idea that it's like, nope, like I'm not getting caught up in a fight. Like if you're in a fight, I'm healing you. That's where the focus is going to be.
I want to make a build like your Templar healer Oaken build that you just talked about, except I want that same build, but I want the beam on there. Just like pure heals plus beam.
That plus the beam. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Old Davis, I'll tell you what you do it is you would take off the Sigil Order ability for the light attack heals and then throw the beam and then you're set. But Old Davis, he doesn't do damage. He doesn't mind watching people die, but he doesn't do the damage himself.
Trade the happy beam for the mean beam.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah, that would be, and you'd have like crazy damage. So that thing would hit hard, actually.
And actually,
you're giving yourself like 700 something.
That would be crazy good.
I may just straight up copy paste that build. That
copy and paste it, swap out that one ability, and you are set.
All right, I'm gonna think about that. Okay, your next character. What do you have?
I got Thane of Pain. This is my Sam Sork. That's my version of it. Just took the Sam Sork, made it a 1-bar build, threw Oaken Soul on there. It's 5-piece Briarheart, 5-piece Kvatch Gladiator, 1-piece Magma Incarnate with the Oaken Soul. I do 6 Divines with a 1 reinforced on the chest. And then kind of as my usual, I do the 1 infused Recovery Jewelry with 2 Bloodthirsty with the damage glyph. And really, I mean, what can I say? This is just the 1-bar Sam Sork. You get a heck of a lot of kills. Frag, Curse, and Fury. You have to have those on the bar. Overload for the ult. And I actually recently switched to the Sork Bird Pet for heals, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's such a ridiculously good 1-bar build. I really will say this, like Uncle Sam has invented the Sam Sork. If anybody out there, if you're scared to go into BGs, if you're new to BGs, make yourself a Sam Sork. Run into the BGs. I promise it's going to work out well. And I would even recommend kind of doing this 1-bar because it's easier to do than Sam's, yours or Sam's regular Sam Sork build. It just gets results. Very good. Good mobility. You can stay alive. Those bird pet heals are so strong. and you
It
just
really is our like automatic. Like if anyone's like, "Hey, thinking about checking out BGs for the first time, anyone recommend a build?" I have Sam's exact build saved in the build editor, and I just give them the link.
here
There
it
it
is.
is.
Do it.
Have fun, buddy.
It's you're gonna love BGs. It's gonna
Let us
work
see
out
those
great.
screenings.
Yeah. And so I actually just kind of invested a lot in this build and kind of cleaning up all of the armor traits and getting everything right. And the results were just immediate. Still great. Still works really well. The bird pet just took it to the next level because now it's just tankier ever, and it's doing some team support heals. It's been working fantastic.
Nice. The last build I have to talk about is Bobby Bobango, my 1-bar Bow Crow. This is a really fun little build. It's Swamp Raider, Morog Tong, Oaken Soul, and One Piece Magma. Steed Mundus, Bloodthirsty Jewelry. He's a wood elf. He's using the Jewels of Misrule food, Tristat potions. His bar is Blast Bones, Magnum Shot, Venom Skull, Resolving Vigor, Resistant Flesh, and the Toxic Barrage Ultimate. So aside from Magnum Shot, that's just for the stun. Aside from that, everything is poison and disease damage. So both Swamp Raider and Morog Tong applies to it all. It's a bunch of damage. That Venom Skull is about to get buffed pretty considerably. I'm looking forward to that. It's already pretty good. I know a lot of people kind of like to talk trash about Venom Skull. It's not as bad as they say. Trust me, especially with an all poison build. Basically, the only other option is Snipe. So it's either that or Venom Skull for a ranged poison based build. And I like Venom Skull better just because it's an instant cast.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of think of it similar to your Bear Claw bow build, your Warden, where it's a surprisingly well-rounded build for just 1 bar. I have a pretty strong offense. I got plenty of kills on this dude. He has very good survivability. He can even heal his teammates if he needs to with resistant flesh. He's got the speed with the bow. It's just, he kind of has the full package. I don't need a back bar. So pretty cool.
Yeah, works out well.
All right, that's my last one. And then your last one, Davius, what do you got?
My last one, Chief of Grief, and this is also my Bow Crow. Same thing, very similar. I will have to say this is my ranged bow build. It's a 5-piece Swamp Raider, 5-piece Plague Break, 1-piece Trainee, and once again, the Oaken Soul. 7 well-fitted, 3 Swift on the jewelry with 3 damage glyphs. And with the Plague Break, this kind of operates as my bomb build, if you will. It's not really a bomb build, but Plague Break has that tendency. It's a good Imperial City type build if you've got Plague Break on a build. So it kind of operates that, and it works in BG's great. Very speedy Bow Crow, good damage. Both those sets work really well, and it's really speedy, tanky, but just in the sense that it's running around, really good range. And then I actually alternate on the ult. I either do the Toxic Barrage, which is kind of we don't have to talk about that, but that's almost a kill secure, very good ult.
Nearly guaranteed kill, yeah.
Yep. Or I do the Colossus Necro ult.
Oh yeah.
And both of those getting buffed by that Swamp Raider, so they alternate real well. It just kind of depends on if I want to go more bomb focused or if I want to go more kind of single target focused. But really good build. Honestly, this build I hop on every now and then, and it's kind of we've talked about all these different builds and we've gone through all these really good setups. This is the one for me, and I know you've got a couple like this too. This is the one for me that I kind of forget about, and then I hop on. I'm like, wow, this build works really well. Like it gets good results, and then I put it back on the shelf, and then I forget about it for a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of how my Bow Crow is too.
Yeah.
I kind of forget about him, but then I jump on. Like, man, this is fun.
This works out really well. So very very good. Kind of just all around good build.
There you go, man. We have a whole bunch of builds locked and loaded, ready to go for the new patch. Feeling really good about all of those. So I don't have a Dragon Knight that I'm like 100% stoked on. I do have one that I'm like 95% stoked on.
That's
I'm
close.
not going to talk about it yet, but it's in the works. We'll talk about it later. I also have plans to turn my other Templar, Butch Mahoney, into a ranged Stamplar.
Okay.
I have I have an idea that I'm messing with. And then, of course, I'm going to be making an Arcanist here pretty soon as well. So those are my build plans for the near future, or for the the next, maybe over the next couple of months.
Sure.
What do you think? What are your build plans, Davius?
I would say my next build plan is, I've talked about this. God, this has got to be a record now. It's probably been 25 episodes. I have a Mag DK that I'm leveling up. Don't you worry. He's
Okay.
He's
All right.
leveling up by the day.
Sure,
Just
yeah.
gaining that experience.
When's the last time you mentioned that character on the podcast? It's been ages.
I bet it has been 25 episodes ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But I have actually kind of come up with a plan that I think would be pretty cool build for a Mag DK. I want to do the banner ult. And then basically the idea I've kind of put together is kind of AoE pressure, but I want to do that banner ult with an Oaken Soul, but I also want to use the chain ability to pull people into the banner.
Nice.
And
then
so
like root them with talons in there, maybe.
Yep. So pull them in, root them, talons fossilize.
Use the ash cloud to snare them as well.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dude,
so it's going to be all about just kind of throwing that banner down and then just pulling them in. Yep.
The shifting standard, dude, that sounds trolly.
Yeah, awesome. And then just pulling people in and making them stuck in that, and just kind of letting that damage hit them while my teams kind of finish them off. So I really like the idea of the build. I haven't put it all together yet, but I do think that it's gaining some momentum where I will finish leveling that character. And then the other character that I'm actually, this is actually a character I don't have yet, but I've really become interested in doing a magical warden. Putting together a Magden support build.
You'll like it. I know you'll love it.
Yeah, I think it such a good toolkit. I think it's going to be pretty good. And honestly, when it comes to the Arcanist, I think I'm going to wait. Like, I don't think I'm going to go right outside the gates. I think I'm going to kind of wait, see how things go with Arcanist. And I might start mine a little bit late, but we'll have one, obviously, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll have one right away, but I'm not going to level it up super fast. I'm going to just play the story and stuff. And
kind of figure the build out. That's kind of my strategy too, I would say, is that I'm not in a rush to get one maxed out and thrown into BG. I kind of want to learn the character and figure it out a little bit. And I don't want to rush a build with it. Like, I don't want to just put a build together that's, I kind of want to figure out, all right, what unique stylized theme build can I put together with this class?
Yeah, and I want to play around with abilities that I'll ultimately not even end up using.
Absolutely.
If I just kind of if I kind of just beeline to a build, I'll be ignoring a lot of the class, and I don't know, there'll be a lot of stuff that I'm just kind of not aware of. So it's nice when you like just gradually level up while you're playing quests and stuff, because it's like, well, I have this ability now. This is the only healing ability I have, I guess, so I'll use that. Whatever. All right, we have some emails. Guess what? I didn't even have to like bribe people this time. They just sent them in of their own accord.
Oh man.
Pretty cool. Scrollandpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to send us an email. First one comes from Grizzly Khan. Shout out to Grizzly Khan.
Shout out Grizzly Khan. Gotta say it.
We're getting screenshots here. Oh my gosh. King Nar with a 38-0 on a Sork. Uncle Sam with a 30-1 on the same team. What's up with that death, Sam?
Yeah, what's the deal with that one?
You want to talk about that?
What happened?
What happened there, man?
A little slip up there, huh?
Brendan says, "Get better, Sam." But Kingnar, nice one, man.
Yeah. Great job, King.
Sorry, Sam. Grizzly Khan says, if you had to design a PvP specific mythic, one that included while Battle Spirit is active in the tooltip like Rallying Cry, what would that look like? Davis, what do you think?
I feel like I've even mentioned this one in the past, but my go-to mythic would be, I want something that basically is the 3-piece Potentates set, but just in one mythic item. Just
condense that into one?
Just condense it into one item, a 15% ult cost reduction.
You think that would need a penalty of any kind? Or
I think that if it's just the ult reduction, I don't think it needs a penalty. I think if you had some fun with it where it was 15% ult reduction and then throw like a minor heroism, then I think you're getting into the realm of, all right, what's going to be the negative to this? But I think
just your sustain maybe or something.
Yeah, I think if it was just a one piece 15% cost reduction on ult, I don't think that's very broken. I think that is pretty I think a lot of I don't think anybody, it's not going to be like a really heavy used one, but I think there's a lot of builds You pair that with potentates, and I feel like you could do some fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you're all about those alt gen builds.
Oh man, love me some alt gen builds. Love it. What about you? What do you think?
I kind of had a hard time thinking of one. It kind of made me realize how hard it is that these people have, how hard of a job these people have to think of new sets all the time, you know? But I would like to have something that is like just makes my build just kind of plugs in all the missing pieces, like like a bunch of buffs that I would consider not totally essential, but they're really nice to have, like major evasion, minor expedition, all three of the major recovery buffs. So that would let me use cheap potions.
That would be cool.
Maybe throw some max stats in there, just kind of something that just sort of fills in those gaps in a build. That's just kind of some convenient things to have. That way I can get rid of some free up some bar space with other things. Would be nice.
Yeah.
But that's really all I could come up with. I can't. That's a pretty boring one. I feel like
You just want your max stats. You're like, just give me stats. That's all I want.
Next email comes from Taggart. Shout out to Taggart. He says, "Hi, Ket and Davius. How viable is Oaken Soul / Single Bar for competitive PvP, and does any class in particular stand out with this mythic? And finally, what is your favorite class to play Single Bar?"
All of the above.
Yes. Davius's entire build roster would suggest that yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
There was a similar theme when I was running through those builds for sure.
Yeah, totally, 100% viable. You just gotta focus your build. You gotta like old Betsy is a 2-bar build, right? And she's super well rounded, and she has offense, and she has group support, and all that stuff. You shouldn't really try to do that with an Oaken Soul
No.
build. You need to be a healer, or you need to
Yes.
be a damage dealer. If it's just a happy accident that you can heal somebody else with your healing ability, that's great, but otherwise don't go out of your way to try to be everything.
Yeah.
But as long as you do that, then yeah, you can make some excellent builds with Oaken Soul, and some of them could even be considered superior to the 2-bar version, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah, I would definitely say there's ways to make it where you can be competitive in PvP, and it's just like you said. You just got to focus in the build, decide what you want the build to do, and just go all in on that. And just know that without that back bar, you're gonna be lacking in some areas. You can't do it all, but just go all in and zero in on kind of what your focus is, and you can really make some competitive builds.
And I would say the best class to me is Warden.
Yeah.
There other classes can work well also, but Wardens, they just have so many things packed into so many abilities. It's going to be easy to get a bar setup you're happy with and have a very complete build on your hands.
Yeah, I kind of have two answers for this. The Warden is the most complete toolkit for a 1-bar build, just because, like you said, they have everything. But my other half of this answer would be the Sam Sork. The Sam Sork 1-bar build, I think, is you could take that thing into BGs and you're going to rack up some pretty crazy kills.
Yeah.
Kill secure, you're going to get the executes, and you're going to have good strong heals with that pet Sork. So I think that can work really well as well. But one of those two, you're going to be in good shape.
Tagger, the person who sent this email, is in the chat right now. He said he's been loving Oaken Soul on his Nightblade, but he doesn't have a lot of experience to compare it to. I know when Oaken Soul first came out, Nightblades were eating that thing up. They were loving it with that
major heroism.
The major heroism and the major force also with their
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed crit out of stealth. But yeah, it's excellent. It's an excellent item. I'm actually. It's one of those things that I was annoyed with this mythic when it first entered the game because it was just overpowered, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's kind of perfect now, and it's really a great addition to the game. I really like it a lot.
I mean, obviously I don't really have to sell myself too much on it. I just listed 7 builds or 6 builds with the Oaken Soul, but I mean, I love it. It's one of those things for me that I'm limited as a player. I would say I'm pretty limited on how much time I can dedicate to the game. And so it's a perfect.
You really need to prioritize, dude.
Yeah,
Tell
I know.
your family.
It's good. I know. I gotta reorganize this list, but this has been the perfect piece for me that still lets me get in I would say high level competitive PvP without, it's going to cap. Like there's definitely 2-bar builds that are going to be better than open soul builds, but it still allows me to, with my limited time play, still kind of get a feel for the builds where I can compete kind of at a high level of PvP. So I would say that it's lower ceiling, but what's the saying I'm looking for there?
Yeah, higher floor, lower ceiling.
Yes.
Totally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's probably what they had in mind when they designed this, and it works perfectly for me in that.
Last email comes from Wacky Sedge. Wacky Sedge says, "Hi guys, I've casually enjoyed mostly sucking at PvP for a long time. Your podcast has given me a ton of insights that's made me start to think about trying to break a light sweat. I recently golded my first dedicated PvP gear after hoarding mats for years. I also wasted a truly upsetting amount of gold mats doing so because I accidentally switched to the wrong build beforehand.
It's a toughie.
That sucks. Just as a side note, I know you guys mostly dislike objectives, but I think it's a good way for new PvPers to dip in. I used to be scared shitless and having
Bleep.
some other focus bleepless and having some other focus besides killing and mostly dying helped take the edge off until I learned enough to enjoy raw PvP. So, yeah, you say that, we mostly dislike objectives and, we're not interested necessarily in playing the objective, but, I don't blame the people who do enjoy doing that one bit. I mean, I fully recognize that if I'm in a Crazy King match and my teammates are running to the new flag the way they're supposed to, they're doing it right.
Yeah.
I get that. I don't like it when they get mad at me for trying to go find fights, because it's an unfortunate situation that didn't exist in the past and it does now because of changes that were made in the game, and it sucks. It really sucks. But I don't blame them one bit for wanting to play the game, and I don't blame them for being frustrated. And just like you're saying, yeah, a lot of them are new to PvP and they're trying to be successful in some way that they can, and I totally get that. It's unfortunate that the player base basically has been divided like this unnecessarily, I think.
Yeah, I'd echo those same thoughts. I think that the struggle that we have, it has nothing to do against players doing the objectives and having fun doing that. I mean, that they're in there doing what it's made to do and having fun doing it. But exactly what you said is I think it's especially with players that have played for a long time. Like we used to be able to pick deathmatch every match. That was our favorite game mode. And so the closest thing that we can get to what we loved the most about this game is going into, battlegrounds and still trying to make a deathmatch out of it. And I understand that can be frustrating for objective players because they're in there trying to do what they're doing. It's just, it's this unique situation that we've been working through for a long time now. It's just kind of a struggle, but I don't take anything away from the players going in there to play the objectives. But it's just, in a way we're trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to go into a battleground and play the way that the same objective that we used to love which was the deathmatch.
Yeah. And on the last episode, we were saying, like, man, it seems like deathmatch is popping up an awful lot here lately. Turns out that was a fluke because we're back to like hardly ever getting deathmatch.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in a while.
Yeah, and so maybe if 1 in 3 battlegrounds was a deathmatch, I might be a little more willing to compromise. Be like, all right, I'll focus the objective. Heck yeah, let's go team.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's been like literally 3 days since I've had a death match, like enough's enough. I want some fights. Dave.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And I know people will say, "Well, go to Imperial City, go to Cyrodiil," but you've heard our responses to that. That's not an alternative. I'm sorry.
It's not the same at all.
So, yeah, there you have it. Thank you for writing in, Whack-A-Sedge.
Yeah, I like that Whack-A-Sedge is getting into PvP. That's awesome. Just as we said, make a Sam Sork. You're going to love it.
Yeah, if you haven't yet, if you're looking for a build, make a Sam Sork. Hit us up in the Discord. We'll give you the link. Dave, just pick a favorite.
I'm going to go with old Taggart. He hit that Oaken Soul. We know how much I love that Oaken Soul.
Pulling those Oaken Soul strings. All right. Let's see. Let's do another 250. That sounds good.
Well, let's do it.
Coming your way, Taggart. Next time I log in, bud. We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoons Goons. It is literally the best PvP guild in the game. And it also just so happens to be the best named guild on the PC NA server. It's also the official guild of the Scrollin' Podcast. If you'd like to join Stoons Goons, hit us up at scrollandpodcast@gmail.com and I'll send you an invite. If your guild roster is full or if you're on a different platform like PlayStation, that's okay. You can come join the Discord. Everyone in the Discord is a fully fledged goon. So any and all activities, it's all aboard. So scrollandpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to join. If you would like to support the show, one easy thing you can do is open up the Apple Podcasts app and give us a star rating, and even better, a written review. Just makes it easier for people to find the show. If you'd like to go a step further than that and help us in a bigger way, you can go to patreon.com/scrollandpodcast and receive Stoons Boon for $3 a month. That gets you some extra Discord benefits, a guaranteed individual shout out on every episode. You get access to the Booncast for some more ESO talk, some videos and written guides, and the greatest gift of all, of course, is just knowing that you're helping the show. Believe it or not, we don't make money from this thing. We spend money to do this thing. So we appreciate any help you'd be willing to give. If you can't do Patreon right now, just come hang out on the Discord. It doesn't cost anything to do that. We have an amazing community. Everybody is welcome. We'd love to have you. Scrollandpodcast@gmail.com to get that invite. Shout out to the chat. Who do we have? My goodness. Hold on. It was a full one tonight.
Yeah, we had a full party.
Let's see here. Shout out to Gary and KDMS, Kingnar, Slavka, Taggart, Uncle Sam, Crimson. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Also shout out to Uncle Sam, Jorl, Kingnar, KDMS, Slavka, Axolion, Taggart, Mother of Dragons, Crimson. Hope I'm not leaving anyone out. We've all just been playing together a lot here lately. It's been a lot of fun. You guys are always fun to hang out with. Shout out to the Elder Goons, the OGs. Thank you guys so much for being around for so long and being our friends. And shout out to our Stoons Boon recipients, our Patreon supporters, Pork Body, Toadster, Gummy Bear, Grizzly Con, Thomas, Taggart, and Mother of Dragons. Thank you guys so much. Davis, anything else before we sign off?
Just excited for this patch. Next episode, we're going to be talking about the new patch.
Next episode, it's the new patch, and we'll be digging into that Arcanist. I'm excited. Yep. I'm super excited.
It's going to be fun.
Alrighty, we will see you then. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. The olden days. Man, back when computers were computers, you know what I mean?
Oh, man. You know.
Computers ran on motor oil.
Oh, yeah. Had CompUSA. How about, let's see. There's Macintosh. That's when they were called Macintosh. What was some of the brands back then?
There was a Gateway with the
Compact. Gateway.
Yeah, there you go. We had some just totally off brand. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I had one of those too. It's like a lion or a tiger. That's what a brand it was. A tiger? You ever see one of those? It's about the size of a tiger.
Never saw one of those. Ours was just like 3 letters, like CMW or what, just I don't even know. Packard Bell. Oh yeah, Packard Bell was it, right? Oh, man. That was like the one.
That was the big one. That was the big brand.
You had your IBMs.
They all came in the lovable beige color. That was the only color offered.
Yeah, why did that? Probably just because
off-white over the beige.
I bet they chose that because those things are in schools and over the years with kids putting their hands on them and stuff.
I don't think the off-white. I don't think the off-colored beige held up well to grumminess. I mean,
No?
unless you
Well,
just mean that it blended in because the whole thing after like 5 years looked grummy. It's all just one
yeah, just
unified
kind of.
grumminess color.
Why did they settle on that color? I wonder. Probably just that's just kind of how this is how it came out. So,
Taggart. So when you're
gonna.
smoking next to them, they stay the same color. And it's cool.
That's right. Yeah, you're having your afternoon cigarette break as a fifth grader.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Taggart
When
got it.
would there was still smoking in school when I was like in seventh grade. I feel like that was like the very end of it, right?
Yeah.
About there is when they stopped it.
Yeah.
But
But back when it wasn't a big deal, it was like, oh, smoking? Sure.
Back when kids could be kids, smoke a cigarette.